Silence, and when the soul, 10,000 people, maybe more. Alright, enough singing some Disturbed. We have PSBL Week 8 weekly recap right now. Today it's Friday. I have 4 battles between Sunday night and Friday morning. And we have the Pokemaster Mike, coach of the New York Metagross, taking on Ninetales, coach of the Quebec Ninetales. Where we have Tapu Koko, Azelf, Chestnut, Swellow, Seismitoad, and Drampa, taking on Slurpuff, Registeel, Infernape, Diggersby, Kyurem, and Cofagrigus. I don't really see too much that Koko can do, other than the Infernape if it's faster, if it is Scarfed. I do believe that a lot of things could take a hit. Maybe the Kyurem could be AV. Honestly, I didn't really see a whole lot that Koko could do. Excuse me. Kyurem can do a lot, actually, with Ice Beam. If it even has the Grass Knot or Hidden Power Grass. Heck of every fucking time! Well, let's get right into this. We have Cofagrigus starting off against Tapu Koko. It goes for a taunt, doesn't want Cofagrigus to do anything, but instead a knockoff comes out, getting rid of the leftovers from Koko. So we see like a more of a bulkier utility set of Kokos. We see Nature's Madness breaking down the Diggersby and going for a U-turn, getting as much damage as he can into Seismitoad on a Swords Dance from Diggersby. Goes for a quick attack, does 37%. See Rocky Helmet on the Seismitoad, and the Scald does in fact take out the Diggersby. But that allows Slurpuff to come in basically for free and get the Electric Seed, which is a very nice play by Slurpuff. Goes for the Belly Drum on a Toxic from Seismitoad now. As we see a Play Rough takes out the Seismitoad, but that leaves Slurpuff down to 16% after toxic damage. It goes for Sticky Webs because he knows that that's priority there, as his Psychic is able to take out the Slurpuff. Goes for a Nasty Plot on the Registeel switch-in, as Seismic Toss only does 33. Flamethrower is not able to take out the Registeel, but his second Seismic Toss brings it down to 33%. The second Flamethrower is able to take out the Registeel, and that allows Kyurem to come in. Can Kyurem live a hit, as we see a Z Twinkle Tackle getting rid of the Kyurem, as we have 5v2. Cofagrigus comes in. Psychic not able to take it out. Memento is not able to take out the Azelf because it's not attacking move, obviously. Fernape comes in, dies to a Psychic, and we have a 5-0 by Mike in 13 turns. Good job by Mike. As we go on to the next battle, we have Kowasabi, coach of the Salt Lake Spindas, taking on the winner 64, coach of the Charlotte Beedrills, Rotom, Garchomp, Ribombee, Slowking, Type Null, and Pinsir, taking on Charizard, Ditto, Avalugg, Stakataka, Yanmega, and Mimikyu. Surprisingly, no Hitmonlee this week. I do believe that's the first time ever. Stakataka should be able to put in a lot of work, especially if that Type Null is there. Should be able to resist anything Ribombee has. But Garchomp could be a problem for it. But let's get right into it. We have Yanmega starting off against Rotom. We see a Protect, trying to get that speed boost up, as a Volt Switch is able to do quite a bit. It's obviously not going to do anything, but a second Volt Switch is able to kill the Yanmega, showing that the Rotom is in fact Scarf, and that brings out Slowking for the first time. As we see a Swords Dance from the Mimikyu on a Scald, trying to get the burn, does break the Disguise, however, but does not get the burn. Shadow Claw is in fact able to kill the Slowking, which did surprise Pearl. I remember hearing him on voice chat through Mike's mic. Ironhead is able to take out the Mimikyu from the Garchomp, and that allows Stakataka to come in, sees the air balloon, goes for a roar, not trying to get the Trick Room up, as Ditto comes out, goes for the Stealthrox, as Stealthrox again from the Garchomp as well, as Avalugg does come in, as the Ironhead only does 20%, goes for a Recover, as the Garchomp goes for a Roar yet again, and Charizard comes out, does 50% because of the rocks, and goes for a Roost, trying to heal up again, as another Roar comes out, as Ditto comes out yet again, as we see Garchomp go for the Toxic as Bulky Pupper comes in. If it's the same set as he usually brings, it has Rest, so it doesn't really matter, as a Swords Dance does come out. As we see a rest come out as well, getting rid of the toxic, as Avalugg goes for a recover, recovering all that 25%. As Curse does come out as well, as we do not see Sleep Talk on the type null. Rotom does come out, as another Curse comes out as well from the Avalugg, as we see a trick from Rotom to the Avalugg so that he is tricked into Avalanche, which does do a lot of damage, as we see a Kustap Will-O-Wisp come out, getting rid, but that does allow the Rotom to fall. Obviously that's the play to go for Pearl, as type null does come out. He is choiced into Avalanche, as Stack Attacker comes out yet again, as Bulky Pupper does in fact have Sleep Talk. I don't know why he didn't use it, as he goes for a Shadow Claw. Only does 20%. That does get rid of the Air Balloon, as Trick Room does come out. Only does 33% with Gyro Ball, which is not a lot at all. As another Gyro Ball comes out, does do 34. As we see more Sleep Talks and Rest, decides to switch out into the Sonnet on a Gyro Ball, which does 71. Rough Skin does take the effect, and so does Rocky Helmet, but it does allow Garchomp to go down. I thought that he should have waited one more turn before bringing out Garchomp, but that does allow Pinsir to come in and gets the freest of free close combats to come out and takes out Stack Attacker. But that does allow Charizard to come out. Goes for a quick attack, thinking that he can live a hit, as a Flame Charge comes out, gets rid of the Pinsir, and that allows Bulky Pupper to come out, and he goes for a Roost on the Charizard, as Sleep Talk to Shadow Claw only does 15%, goes for a Belly Drum, and that should be a good game, as another Rest comes out, goes up to 100%, goes for a Roost on Charizard. Shadow Claw is only doing 15%. Obviously, he's not going to be able to do anything. Flame Charge is doing a lot of damage. He's going to be the fastest thing out there. As another Swords Dance, a Sleep Talk Swords Dance comes up. Flame Charge again does in fact take out the type null, and that only leaves Ribombee against the world. Ribombee comes in and is going to die to a Flame Charge. And that is another win for Kowasabi without Hitmonlee, which is very surprising. We'll go on to the next battle, where we have GV Center, coach of the Dallas Dragons, versus your Pro Drake, coach of the Anaheim Arcanines, where we have Donphan, Torkoal, Jirachi, Dragonite, Nidoking, and Mega Houndoom versus Bisharp, Flygon, Zapdos, Rhydon, Ambipom, and Alolan Ninetales. We'll get right into this as we see Hail versus Sun, as Ambipom starts off against Donphan. Torkoal switches in on the Fake Out, which we see that is Life Orb. Ambipom goes for the knockoff, definitely does not want the Heat Rock to take effect later on in the game, as Lava Plume does do massive damage to the Ambipom. Switches out into Rhydon, knowing he can eat anything, but a double out into Houndoom comes out, thinking that he can still live anything. A Solar Beam comes out, taking out the Rhydon in one shot, which is very nice to see, seeing that Rhydon is very bulky. Zapdos comes out, goes for the Volt Switch, showing that it is, I think that it means that it is Scarfed. I don't know what Houndoom's speed is. Maybe it's max HP Houndoom, I don't know. As we see a switch out into Bisharp on another Solar Beam, which obviously is not going to do too much, and because the Solar Power does in fact take Houndoom out of the equation. Donphan gets a free switch in, however, as Ninetales comes out. We see that he unfortunately messed up on the the ability, as Ninetales does go down to 2 Earthquakes, as Freeze Dry does do pretty good damage to the Donphan, but not enough. Ice Shard does massive damage to the Flygon, but Earthquake is able to take out the Donphan, but that does allow Dragonite to come out for free, lives the Outrage, as the weakness policy does come out on the Dragon Dance, which is very nice. Goes for the Extreme Speed, takes out the Flygon, but that does allow the Bisharp to come out for free, switches out into Torkoal, predicting the Sucker Punch, and that does in fact come out, which unfortunately is not going to do anything. Switches out into Zapdos on a Lava Plume, which does do 45%, which is pretty good damage. Goes for the Volt Switch right out into Ambipom, allowing the Torkoal to take it out with a Lava Plume. Allowing Zapdos to come back out, go for the Heat Wave, unfortunately misses as another Lava Plume, takes it down to 10%, goes for a Heat Wave and is able to take it out. That allows Toothless to come out, goes for an Extreme Speed, able to take out the Zapdos, but does get paralyzed, allowing Bisharp to come out, go for the knockoff, and is able to take out the Dragonite as well. Nidoking comes out, goes for the Earth Power and is able to take out the Bisharp, and your bro Jake defeats GV Center 2-0, as we now do my battle. We have your Buffalo Bouffalons, coach of the Buffalo Bouffalons, taking on Big Tucker and coach of the Twenta Tentacles, where we have Rotom Heat, Licky Licky, Piloswine, Mew, Jellicent, and Klefki taking on Scrafty, Fortress, Volcanion, Comfey, Beedrill, Mega Beedrill, and Landorus T. And I just want to get this over with because this is a pretty long matchup. As we have Patrick going off against Scrafty, goes for Protect, seeing what he wants to do. As I go for a Volt Switch, obviously not going to do anything because of the Protect, goes for a Volt Switch this time out into Klefki, as a knockoff does come out, does get rid of my Oka Berry, but that doesn't really matter too much, as Spikes do come out, as a Fire Punch is not able to kill me, as I go for a Toxic, as we remember Edit is immune, unfortunately for me. I do get the burn, but that doesn't really matter too much. I think that I do need Klefki later on, so I go out into Licky Licky. Do lose my leftovers really early, which is very unfortunate, but I don't think that really matters too much. As I go for counter, he realizes that, and he goes out into Fortress as I go for a Wish, realizing that it is a free switch. I switch out into Klefki to get a free heal up to about 70%. As he switches out into Volcanion on my Thunder Wave, which is pretty good, especially if it is Scarfed. Switches out into Squishy because I know that I can eat literally anything that I want from this thing. That he does get a free switch out into Daisy, the fucking Comfey. And this thing really pisses me off, as we will see down later on. As I switch out into Patrick, thinking that I can do anything, he goes for a Synthesis on a Overheat, and that's really good damage, but unfortunately it is a Comfey. He goes for Synthesis again on another Overheat, which does do 37% at that time. As I decide to switch out because I know that it's a losing battle, as he synthesizes yet again, realize that I have nothing for this thing, so the only thing I can do is basically PP steal him out of Synthesis. As I go out into Klefki, get a free heal, as he does have Leech Seed and Burn. As I decide to go for Spikes, really trying to get him into Fortress. Aromatherapy, obviously not going to do anything, but that does waste Aromatherapy turns. As Jafar does come out, get the Intimidate, as I decide to switch out into Patrick. I do have Hidden Power Ice, and he decides to look for that, as he does switch out into Volcanion. I decide to switch out into Squishy. It is my designated switch-in, as he does have Toxic, which honestly doesn't really matter too much, because as soon as Volcanion goes down, then Squishy is basically useless. As he decides to double Toxic, great play there, as I go for a Volt Switch, is in fact able to take out the Volcanion. As I get a free switch into Licky Licky, as Jafar does come out. I decide to switch out into Piloswine, as a substitute does come out, which is very interesting. I didn't want him to set up, that's why I switched out into Haircut. As he goes for a knockoff, does get rid of my Eviolite, but Haircut is still very valuable. It is max HP, max defense. Escalade Crash only does 9%. I switch out into Patrick on a Stealth Rock, which is very interesting. I thought he would have gone for the Rapid Spin, as Daisy does come out yet again, as I go for a Volt Switch, does do pretty good damage, as I decide to go out into Klefki again, realizing that these rocks, my Rotom is my Winmon. I decide to get rid of these rocks as I go for Defog, as the Leech Seed does come out, does take me down to about 34% after Leech Seed and burn damage, as he goes out into Jafar on my Toxic, which does bring me down to about 16% again, but I realize that I can heal him back up through Fortress and the Comfey. As he switches out into Comfey on my Squishy, I decide to stay in, go for a Toxic, try to get as much damage off as I can, forcing him to go for Aromatherapy and Synthesis, as I go for a Toxic, predicting a Aromatherapy that turn. Realizing this is a losing battle, I decide to go for, I don't remember what I go for. Did I go for Hex this time? Yeah, I went for Hex thinking that he wasn't going to go for it again, but this time he actually does, which is very unfortunate. Realizing that this is definitely a losing battle, I decide to switch out into Mr. Licky Girl, trying to get the heal on something, as he goes for Aromatherapy again, which is great for me, but Leech Seed comes out again on my Wish, and I decide I get a free Wish into my Drunk Knight, which does heal him up pretty well. I decide to go back and Mr. Lucky Girl, because I know that I can literally eat anything that this thing wants. Goes for a Draining Kiss, which does do 17%, as a Wish does come out. He goes out into Jafar, thinking that I was going to go out into something, as I go for a body slam, just trying to get something on. We see red card on the Landers, which I go for Flame Charge because I want to try to outspeed the Beedrill. I go for a Tectonic Rage, not able to take out the Scrafty. Knockoff doesn't do too much because of I did not have a item. Goes for a Flamethrower, trying to take him out, as he goes out into Comfy on my Flamethrower yet again, which does do pretty good damage, and it does in fact get the burn, which does force him to go for Aromatherapy eventually. So I decide to go out into Mr. Lucky Girl again, as he does miss a lot of Leech Seeds this battle. He goes for Aromatherapy that turn, which is great for me, as I decide to go for a Wish, as he goes for a Synthesis. Go for Body Slam, trying to get the Paralysis. Maybe he can mess up a little bit. Not mess up, but do get paralyzed. As Fortress does come out, I decide to Wish out into Patrick on a Stealth Rock. Realizing he has 0 Overheat switch-ins, I decide to go for said Overheat, as Scrafty does come out and does die to my Overheat. Realizing that he has any switch-in he wants, he goes out into Comfy again. I switch out into Mr. Lick Your Girl, because I can do anything. I can wish this stuff back up, as Jafar does come out, as I go for the said wish. I go out into Haircut knowing that I can eat anything I want, as it does do pretty good damage, as I just heal that right back up. As he goes out into Fortress, I go out into Klefki, because I can go for a defog and defog this away, and that's exactly what I do, realizing that this thing is basically useless now. Actually, no, excuse me. I go out into Squishy, realizing that's useless, and that does in fact die. Gets a free switch in out into Haircut. As he goes out into his Fortress again, I did not predict that, and I went to go for Ice Crash. Only does 9% again, but I do in fact get it down lower and lower each time. Excuse me. I decide to switch out into Comfy again, predicting a switch out into I predict a switch out into Comfy, so I go out into Klefki. He realizes that, and he goes out into Jafar. And I realize that this is a losing battle. I really want the Comfy to keep on using Aromatherapy, so I go for a Toxic, and predicting him to like set up or something as well. So it would have been a win-win for me. But instead, he just takes out Comfy, which is very dangerous because now I don't have any defoggers. I realize that, so every time I bring out Licky Licky, I have to switch out into Rotom so that a free Overheat can come out. Unfortunately, since Rotom is toxic, I can't stay in all the time, as Draining Kiss does get a critical hit, which doesn't really matter too much, as he goes out into Not a Drill, as I go for a Wish, knowing I can live anything I want. He goes for a Swords Dance, and that is pretty dangerous, because now he gets a free Poison Jab now, which I do in fact live, but Counter does in fact take it out the Beedrill, but that allows Comfy to kill me with Draining Kiss. But that does also allow Rotom. I do need a critical hit. Go for an Overheat. Only does 76%. Lives on 8% as the Leech Seed does come out and does take Humpy back up to 24%. Which means that I have to switch out into Mew. Draining Kiss does come out. It brings it back up to over half. Which now I have to switch out into Patrick again. Which does bring the Comfy to 69. Knowing that he can live with a Synthesis, he goes for a Synthesis that time, as he's able to live on 19%. Patrick is only on 6%, as he goes for another Synthesis on a Overheat, which does do about 31%. Knowing that a Flamethrower is going to be... Oh, no, I go out into Pillow as he goes for a Draining Kiss again, goes for an Icicle Crash, does do 42, which is definitely not enough, as he switches out into Fortress, as I Icicle Crash, and I go out into Kirby, because that's the only thing I can do. He does miss the Toxic Cut, so he switches out into Jafar on my Flame Charge. I don't know why I went for that. I should have just gone for Flamethrower. I think I outspent everything anyway. He did not see Ice Beam, so Ice Beam does in fact take out the Landorus. I don't think the crit really mattered. As he switches out into Comfy again, goes for a Draining Kiss, not able to kill, but does bring it back up to over half. Go for Ice Beam, obviously not going to do anything. Goes out into Jay-Z again, did not want Mew to die, I don't know why, Mew's just going to die anyway. Draining Kiss does in fact kill the Pillow, and Mew also dies after the next one. So that basically gets me out of playoffs anyway, so I basically give up for the rest of the season. But here's the next one. Alright guys, so this is the rest of the week. I only did 4 earlier. Today is Tuesday, actually, excuse me. We had a little bit of an extension this week. And I still have another 7? Yeah, 7 to go. This week is my spring break, so I do not have the sticky note that has my picks or my record picking. Excuse me as I move because I'm uncomfortable. So, like, this week it will not have my record or picks or anything. For the next one, I will have that, and I'll go more into detail about what my record is picking wise. I do not remember that top of my head, and I forgot to bring it back home. So I might sound a little bit differently. I don't have my headset that has my mic in it. Also, I might try to be a little bit quieter because my house is full of people right now. So I don't really want to disturb them. So yeah, that's basically it. But anyway, this still should come out. Yeah, so let's just get right into it. We have Treasure Orb, coach of the Indianapolis Infernape, taking on Peanut Butter Nakora and the Uprising Flygons. We have Skullbeat, Electivire, Empoleon, Tauros, Celesteela, and Zygarde taking on Ash Greninja, Manectric, Steelix, Durant, Gligar, and Terrakion. I do see a lot that Terrakion can do in this battle, so it could easily get a kill or two. Very, very easily. But also Zygarde might actually have a pretty good matchup on the team as well. But we'll see which one is more dangerous, as we have Manectric leading off against Zygarde. Zygarde definitely doesn't want to do anything. Oh, excuse me. Manectric switches out, as so does Zygarde, predicting the hit power ice out into Electivire. He goes for an Ice Punch and it actually freezes the Gligar second turn. Decides to switch out into Terrakion, not want to take another Ice Punch, but Terrakion gets frozen as well, which is very unfortunate. Earthquake is able to take out the Terrakion, so there goes the main offensive threat on the Infernape's team. Steelix comes out, goes for a Roar as Celesteela also comes out, bringing out Tauros, switches back out into Celesteela on a Gyro Ball, only does 9% as an Earthquake comes out, only doing 25 as well. Stealth Rocks comes out, switches out into Gligar to try to get unfrozen before it dies, but unfortunately is not able to do it as it does take a Heavy Slam. Still frozen after 3 turns, goes for an Atomize on the Celesteela, goes for another Heavy Slam, and gets the first kill of the week. Steelix comes back out, and Steelix does in fact live in an Earthquake, and goes for a Roar to get rid of the setup the Celesteela had, as Empoleon comes out. Obviously not want to take any hit that he wants, goes out into Manectric on a Defog, doubles out into Durant, predicting a switch out into something, and Electivire actually does come out, goes for an X-Scissor, and destroys the Electivire, allowing Celesteela to come back out in any hit that he wants. So Steelix comes out again, as an Atomize comes out once more, goes for an Earthquake, not able to kill unfortunately, as a Roar does come out again, and out comes Celesteela. Zygarde, as a Toxic comes out on a Dragon Dance as well, goes for 1,000 arrows, is able to take out the Steelix, and that also allows Durant to come out. Durant is able to live the 1,000 arrows, goes for an Iron Head, not able to take out the Zygarde, and kills himself because of Life Orb damage. Greninja comes out now. Greninja goes for the Water Shuriken, is able to take out the Zygarde, and Ash Greninja comes out for the first time today. Scolipede comes out, is able to live 1, 2, and 3 Water Shurikens, and goes for the X-Scissor and takes out Ash Greninja, allowing 4 versus 1, as he does not able to live the Earthquake, and we have Nakora beating the Infernape's 4 Mons to 0. Next up, we have the match of the season. So much heat for this match. 1 second. As Lucy Goosey for the win. Coach of the Edmonton Coilers taking on Hoobie, coach of the Kansas City Kartanas. If Lucy wins, Hoobie has to drop Kartana. If Hoobie wins, Lucy has to drop the Mega Camel. So much heat back and forth. We have Aerodactyl, Kecleon, Machamp, Mega Camerupt, Azumarill, and Magnezone taking on Kartana, Heracross, Mega Gyarados, Honchkrow, Xurkitree, and Frostlass. It is the tale of the camel versus the tail of the Kartana. Let's go right into it. In this match, spoiler alert, will live up to the hype. As we have Kartana leading off against Machamp, switches out into Heracross, thinking that he can eat anything that he wants, but there's another double out into Zoomerl, goes for a Facade, it does do over half, as a Play Rough, as we see it is not huge power, it is in fact leftover Sap Sipper, decides to switch because he knows he can eat any hit that he wants with Aerodactyl Facade, does do over half as well, not wanting to take anything from this Aerodactyl, switches out into Honchkrow on a Roost by Aerodactyl, does not eat the Sucker Punch very well at all, and Rock Slide does in fact take out the Honchkrow. Xurkitree comes out, and Xurkitree will go for a Thunderbolt, still able to kill the Aerodactyl even after a Roost. Kecleon does come out, does eat that Thunderbolt pretty well, but does get paralyzed as a Trick Room also comes out, which is very nice. Goes for a knockoff, which is able to get rid of the Focus Sash from Xurkitree, and the Thunderbolt is able to take out the Kecleon, and already 4 versus 5 after turn 8. Mega Camel comes out, goes for the Hidden Power, I do believe Electric, not doing a lot at all. This Energy Ball does massive damage, but still able to live, and Mega Camel getting the first kill of the season. As Gyarados does come out, Mega Evolves, and is able to take the Earth Power very, very nicely as he goes for a Dragon Dance as Trick Room does in fact end. Waterfall is able to kill the Mega Camera up as Magnezone comes up, able to live, no flinches this time, good for you Lucy, and is able to kill the Gyarados, and switches out into a Zoomerl, which does get leftover damage. Goes for a Sword Stance as a Hidden Power Fire of all things comes out, and doesn't in fact get rid of the Kartana. Frostlass comes out, switches out into Magnezone on a Shadow Ball, is able to live one of them, but will not be able to live a second, allowing 2 versus 2. Machamp comes out, goes for an Ice Beam, able to live it very nicely, goes for a knockoff, as we see it is in fact Sash, but doesn't really matter too much because Bullet Punch comes out and kills the Frostlass, allowing 2 versus 1. Heracross goes for Facade and is able to take out the Machamp, as a Zoomerl comes out, is able to live on 5%, and Play Rough is able to kill the Heracross. What a game, and Hoobi got rid of the Kartana and picked up Skarmory. What a battle. That was very good. Unfortunately, I was not able to watch it live. I'd be on the edge of my seat if I was. But congratulations to Lucy going back to his winning ways. And Hoobi dropping to 3 and 5, which is very surprising. But anyway, come on, there we are. As we have Byron, coach of the Pittsburgh Reggie Steelers, taking on Devil's Crime, coach of the Philadelphia Starmaze, where we have is it Mega Slowbro? No, Ninetales is Mega Slowbro. Slowbro, Delmise, Mega Altaria, there we are. Tornadus, T, Mailswine, and Sharpedo taking on Hippowdon, Excadrill, Vaporeon, Chandelure, Buzzwole, and Leavanny. We have a Sand team going on here for Chris. Devil Chris, as Excadrill could be putting in a lot of work, especially with Iron Head and Earthquake, and you might even have Shadow Claw for the first two, being Slowbro and Delmise. But other side, Mamoswine should be putting in a lot of work, especially with Icicle Crash and Earthquake, doing a lot of damage to the majority of the team, but I do see ways around that for Chris. But we'll go right into this matchup where we have Tornadus taking on Vaporeon. Goes for a taunt, definitely does not want a Wish to come up, or a Toxic to come out as well. Rasnot only does 39, as we actually see Ice Beam on Vaporeon, which is very interesting, which does get a critical hit, forcing the Tornadus to switch with his Regenerator out into Slowbro as another Ice Beam comes out. No freezes, unfortunately, for Vaporeon, as we do see the taunt end and goes for a Toxic. Very nice play there by Chris, as the Toxic comes out as well for the Slowbro. So now we see a Heal Bell on Vaporeon, forcing another Toxic for the Slowbro, as we see Toxic damage whittling down it a little bit as Buzzwole does come out very risky play, as so does Delmise, switches out into Chandelure, definitely does not want to take any hit, as he switches out into Slowbro as well, goes out into Sharpedo on an Energy Ball. Nice play there by Chris. I don't know if you predicted that or what, but anyway, Sharpedo does in fact go down, which is a huge threat for Chris' team. Hippowdon comes out, gets up the Sandstorm as a Cotton Guard comes out, which is very interesting to see. As we see a Hyper Voice do pretty good damage to Hippowdon, as a Toxic also comes out as well. Is exactly what he needs, whittling it down just little by little. As Mamoswine comes out, as Axorgilla also comes out, definitely does not want to take an Iron Head or anything, switches out into Delmise, eats the Iron Head pretty nicely. And goes for a Shadow Claw, lives on 1%, goes for an Earthquake, and takes out Chris's main offensive threat, as Delmise does go down to Sandstorm damage. Leavanny comes out, as so does Tornadus, as goes for a Taunt, does not want the Sticky Webs up, which is very interesting. I would have gone for Hurricane, but I guess that's kind of needed as well. Leaf Blade comes out, only does 23% to a Altaria switch-in, which I'm surprised. It makes me think that he does not have Hurricane on his Tornadus. Hyper Voice is able to take out the Leavanny as Buzzwole comes out, goes for an Iron Head, which I would not have predicted, and does in fact kill the Altaria, and that allows Slowbro to come out for free, goes for Toxic on a Vaporeon switch-in. But we also see a switch out into Tornadus as a Heal build comes out yet again, and we'll go for a Taunt, trying not to let the thing wish up, but an Ice Beam comes out instead, taking it down to 16%, but that allows a U-turn, Regenerator back up after the Life Orb damage. Ice Beam, again, obviously not going to do anything, and obviously not going to freeze because of the Toxic. As we see Slowbro at 90%, goes for another Ice Beam, trying to get chip damage, as a Toxic comes out yet again, forcing a switch out into something. Excuse me, as I'm running out of breath, really. Heal Bell comes out again, getting rid of the Toxic as his Psychic comes out. The Vaporeon then goes for a switch out into Buzzwole as another Psychic. I do not agree with that play there by Chris. And that allows a 3 versus 3. Slowbro is at 42%, but it also does have Regenerator and switches out into Tornadus, eats the Dark Pulse pretty nicely, switches out into Vaporeon on a Grass Knot, which does get rid of the Tornadus, but Vaporeon is sitting at 10%, easily enough for an Earthquake to take out the Vaporeon, and Chandelure comes out now. Chandelure goes for Energy Ball, lives on 7% as an Earthquake, gets rid of the Chandelure, and that just allows Hippowdon to come out. Hippowdon is not able to live in Icicle Crash, and we have Byron winning 2-0. Anyway, come on. There we are. We have Mandy, the Toto, coach of the Gainesville Goodrers, taking on Jake the Cows, coach of the Miami Magikarps, where we have Victini, Thunderous T, Mega Sceptile, Gardevoir, Gyarados, and Decidueye taking on Cryogonal, Crocodile, Tapu Fini, Galvantula, Meloetta, and Como. Well, I definitely see a huge, oh, excuse me, not a huge, but a pretty big ice weakness, so Cryogonal should be able to have a very good day, especially with Freeze Dry. The only thing he has to really watch out for is Victini and, basically just the Victini, as, Gardevoir does not want to take multiple, Freeze Dries or something like that. But anyway, let's get right into this. We have Crocodile leading off against Thunderous, as we see Intimidate on the Crocodile. At the first turn, Z-move, all out pummeling, getting rid of the Crocodile first turn. Good job there by Jake, getting rid of Mandy's one of main threats. Goes for a Nasty Plot on a Meloetta's knockoff, which is very surprising. Well, I guess she was predicting a switch there, which is not that surprising. So Psyshock comes out, does do more than half. Thunderbolt only doing half after the 2 Nasty Plots, which we assume it is Saltfest. Switches out into Decidueye, goes for a U-turn on the Cuomo switch-in, goes out into Gardevoir, which we do see Trace, Como switches out into Malouetta on a Moonblast and eats that up very nicely, but the special attack does in fact drop, goes for a knockoff, getting rid of the Life Orb as another Moonblast comes out, living on 10%, another knockoff as Jake gets rid of the Meloetta with Gardevoir, and that allows Tapu Fini to come out, goes for a Reflect on an Energy Ball, which does do over half, switches out into Cryogonal, which does have really good special defense, does not take that Energy Ball as well as I thought, as Jake goes out into Victini, eats the Freeze Dry very, very nicely, switches out into Tapu Fini, thinking she can eat anything she wants, as a Fusion Flare actually does 24%, Thunderbolt is able to get rid of the Tapu Fini. As we see Galvantula come out now, goes for a Thunder trying to kill it, not able to kill it, but does in fact get the paralysis. Goes for a Fusion Flare, is able to live it because of Sash, as we see the main Cryogonal switch in go down to 1%. That allows Cuomo to come out, goes for an Ice Punch, getting rid of the Victini, which now leaves 4 versus 2, as we see Decidueye come out. Dragon Dance comes out for Como on a defog, which is very unfortunate. Should have gone for the Brave Bird. Switches out into Hail Hydra, the Gyarados, as a second Dragon Dance comes out. She is now the fastest thing on the field. Dragon Claw is able to kill the Gyarados, as we see Gardevoir come out, goes for an Iron Head, is able to take out the Gardevoir, and now we're sitting at 2 versus 2. Decidueye comes out, Ice Punch is able to get rid of the Decidueye, and now we have a Mega Sceptile, 4 times weak to Ice, with an Ice Punch, gets rid of the Sceptile. Como sweeps for Mandy. There we are. That one was pretty easy. Gamer Geeko, coach of the Reading Rapidash, is taking on the one of the hottest teams in the league right now. Pokey Ranger Cody, coach of the Holland Heracross. We have Mega Manetric, Sylveon, Dusclops, Heatran, Salamence, and Manaphy taking on Haxorus, Sawk, Mega Sableye, Charizard, and Milotic with Staraptor. That was weird. I do see a huge Manectric weakness for the Gamer Geeko, especially if the Manectric has Hidden Power Ice. But vice versa, I do see a pretty good matchup for Stock with Poison Jab, Knockoff, and Drain Punch, or even Ice Punch with it as well. Takes out 4 out of the 6 mons for Cody, so watch out for that. But let's get right into it, as I want to get this over with as soon as possible, as we see Milotic versus Mega Manectric. 100% is going to Mega Evolve first turn. As a Haxorus comes out, goes for a Thunderbolt. It only does 36%, but does get the paralysis, unfortunately. So we see Hidden Power Ice, get rid of the Haxorus. Turn 2, main offensive threat is gone. Rock Slide only does 38, trying to get the flinch. Volt Switch comes out, does do over half to the suck, as Manaphy comes out as well. Forces a switch out into Milotic, knowing he can eat anything he wants, as long as it's not Bloom Doom, as we see Flame Orb on the Milotic. Switches out into Sylveon because he knows he can eat anything he wants, as it does in fact get the burn, but it doesn't really matter because it is leftover Sylveon. Milotic goes for recover, thinking he can eat anything, but we actually see it as offensive Sylveon with Calm Mind, which is very dangerous for this team. Switches out into Charizard, thinking he can eat anything that he would like. Goes for a Focus Blast, which is very weird in my opinion, as a Hyper Voice does do 36%, Resisted still does a lot of damage. We see an Overheat come out, only does 30%, lowering the special attack, but allowing Sylveon to Calm Mind yet again. Switches out into Milotic, thinking he can eat anything that he would like, as another Wish in fact comes out. Goes for a Scald, as another Calm Mind, no, a Hyper Voice comes out, which does 59%. This allows Sylveon to Calm Mind again, I believe, as if that's in fact what he does, as Sawk comes out, trying to get some physical presence in. Goes for an Ice Punch, only does 21%, as a Hyper Voice is able to get rid of the Sawk. As now, who comes out? This Staraptor comes out, goes for Brave Bird, able to do 60% to it, as Hyper Voice is able to get rid of the second offensive presence on the Rapidash's side. Goes for a Shadow Sneak with the Sableye, not able to kill. Hyper Voice is in fact able to kill, and Sylveon kills 3 Mons this battle, which is just great. Switches out into Dusclops because he wants to preserve the 6-0. Overheat, able to do pretty good damage, but not enough, as we see a Pursuit, which actually does pretty decent damage. It does chip damage against a Charizard, as Milotic comes out as well. Switches out into Manectric, thinking that he can finish the game up, as Recover comes out, which was, in my opinion, a mistake. He should have gone for offensive, because Manectric was a pretty safe switch in. Goes for a Thunderbolt, gets rid of the Milotic, and goes for the Thunderbolt again, getting rid of the Charizard, and we have a 6-0 for Cody, making his season even more special for him. As now we have Sir Hawthorne, the third coach of the San Francisco Royals, taking on Rockhands, coach of the Rocky Mountain Lycanrocs, and yes, Rockhands does get his team back, and that is the reason why we had the extension, just so that he can build a team with his new team again. We have Shiinotic, Zoroark, Shuckle, Darmanitan, Golisopod, and Golurk taking on Bronzong, Arcanine, Scizor, Gyarados, Mega Garchomp, and Thundurus. I do see that Mega Garchomp should be able to do pretty good damage against the team, especially if webs do come up, but it is webs versus webs, so that can come into play later down the road. We'll get right into it, as we have Shiinotic starting off against Scizor. Goes for a Bullet Punch, not able to kill, unfortunately, and Effect Spore does come into play, allowing Spore not to be utilized very well. As we see a Strength Sap, getting Shiinotic back up to full health, as Scizor is still asleep, as a Leech Seed comes out, getting some chip damage on the Scizor, which could come in handy later down the road. As Darmanitan actually comes out, getting more damage onto Scizor, switches out into Arcanine, predicting a Flare Blitz, and that is exactly what comes out, allowing a Flash Fire for Arcanine. Golisopod comes out on a sunny day, goes for a Wild Charge, only does 42%, not getting rid of the Golisopod. Liquidation only does 50% because of the sun. Goes for an Aqua Jet, trying to get as much damage as he can, as we see a Z Inferno Overdrive, getting rid of the Golisopod in the sun, allowing Darmanitan to come in, go for a U-turn, which is a very nice play, and getting rid of the Arcanine, switching back out into Golurk, as a Thundurus comes out. Goes for a Dark Pulse, as we see that my battery is low, as an Ice Punch comes out, doing 70% to the Thundurus, allowing Toxic to come out, allowing the Thundurus to die to an Ice Punch from Golurk, and that allows Gyarados to come out, knowing that he can eat anything he wants, as a Dynamic Punch trying to confuse the Gyarados, goes for Sticky Webs, which might come in handy later if the Shuckle does not do anything. Earthquake does come out, as we also see Toxic come out as well. Unfortunately, gets confused, probably going for the Sucker Punch, allowing Gyarados to live another hit, as Golurk does in fact go down, as we see Shuckle come out, as a Bronzong also comes out as well. I would assume that he would have gone for Taunt, but a Gyro Ball only does 4%, getting rid of the, what was it? The Bronzong with Red Card, goes for a knockoff as well, getting rid of the Choice Band from Scizor, as Iron Head only does do 51, but that allows the Shuckle to put up the webs of his own. Darmanitan does come out as well, and there is no switch, and Bronzong comes out on a Flare Blitz, getting rid of the Bronzong very easily, as that allows the Garchomp to come in. Yep, the Garchomp to come in, and Mega Evolve, and still does 52% from a Flare Blitz, and Earthquake is able to take out the Darmanitan. That allows Shiinotic to come in. And can Shiinotic live in the Iron Head? Goes for a Poison Jab, and it is sashed, which allows the Spore to come out, which does help later on in the game. Poison does, in fact, kill the Shiinotic, but Zoroark comes out as well. Zoroark goes for a Dark Pulse, able to live the first one, but the first turn of sleep is always a guarantee. Goes for a second Dark Pulse, and is able to heal the Garchomp. We're sitting at 76% against a Scizor with Bullet Punch. Can Zoroark live? It does on 8%. Flamethrower is able to take out the Scizor, and we have the second win of the season for Sir Hawthorne. Congratulations to him. As we are going to the last battle, we have Kid Icarus versus Polly again. Polly is using Dragon Rider's team. He was unfortunately unable to battle this week, but Polly was kind enough to use Bryce's team for next week as well, for this week. So thank you for Polly for that. Also, Dragon Rider is probably going to try to find somebody himself, but Dragon Rider talked to me today, Tuesday. So if anyone would be willing to take over Bryce's team or Dragon Rider's team, it doesn't matter if everyone knows his name. For next week, week 9, I think we're on. He is going to Canada and will not be able to participate this week. So if anyone can use his team for this week, he would be glad if anyone could. But anyway, we have Tapu Bulu, Primarina, Mega Steelix, Gengar, Cresselia, and Tyrantrum, taking on Lucario, Gliscor, Mesprit, Kyurem Black, Tyranitar, and Starmie. I do see a lot that Starmie can do, especially if it is an offensive Starmie. Ice Beam, there's Thunderbolt, I think it even learns Poison Move, I don't know, but Psychic and Shadow Ball or whatever, or even a Water Stab, it can do a lot of damage and it's very unpredictable. But also Gengar, Tyrantrum can do a lot of damage, but Bulu as well. But we'll get right into it. As we can see, Gengar comes out against Starmie. Immediate first turn, we see that it is Scarfed Gengar going for a Shadow Ball and getting rid of the Starmie, allowing Lucario to come in, go for a Swords Dance as Mega Steelix does in fact Mega Evolve and just dies to a close combat, which is very nice to see in my opinion. As we see Gengar come out, Gengar goes for a Shadow Ball as a Gliscor comes out, does in fact get this special defense drop, which is very unfortunate, but Gliscor does get the Poison Heal, which is very nice. Shadow Ball, again, only doing 14% to Mr. T, the Tyranitar, forcing the switch out into Tapu Bulu. Surprising to not see Pursuit, as we do see the Stone Edge in fact miss, as it goes for a second Stone Edge, which is surprising to see him stay in, as we see a Z Bloom Doom, which in my opinion was a waste on the Tyranitar, but does get rid of the Tyranitar nonetheless, allowing Lucario to come in, goes for a Meteor Mash on a Focus Punch on the Tapu Bulu, predicting a Swords Dance. Good job there by Lucario, just killing it. Goes for a Shadow Ball, not able to kill the Lucario, as we see a second Meteor Mash, getting rid of the Gengar, allowing Lucario to live on 4% with Terrain, boosting it up to 10, as we see Head Smash getting rid of Lucario, but that allowing Kyurem to come out, and I do believe that these things are both Scarf, allowing the Ice Beam to kill the Tyrantrum, but allowing the Primarina to come out, as Noodles, the Mesprit, does not eat a Moonblast very well at all, so we see the leftover Mesprit goes for a Psyshock, doing pretty good damage, 58, getting rid of the Mesprit with Moonblast, allowing the Kyurem to come out, switching out into Cresselia, knowing he can eat literally anything, as a Fusion Bolt only does 24%, switches out into Gliscor, thinking he can eat anything, as a Psyshock only does 17%, allowing him to roost if he really wanted to, but he switches out into Primarina on a U-turn, which is very nice play. Good play there by Kid Icarus, as we see a switch back out into Cresselia on a Fusion Bolt, only doing 25% that time. Switches out into Gliscor again, eating the Psyshock pretty nicely yet again. As we see a Roost by Gliscor as a Moonlight by Cresselia, not wanting him to U-turn out again. U-turns out this time, out into Kyurem, but this time Cresselia stays in and goes for a Psyshock, only doing 19%, showing that this is actually kind of a defensive Kyurem, I do believe. Shadow Ball does in fact hit, and gets a third special defense drop this entire game by both teams. Goes for another Shadow Ball, just doing 39 this time. Hidden Power, I do believe that's fighting, or it could be something else. I'm not entirely sure, as another Shadow Ball does do 36, but allowing Cresselia to Moonlight up this time, getting up to about 85%. Another Shadow Ball comes out and does in fact get the fourth special defense drop of the game. Hidden Power again comes out, living on about 34%. Another Shadow Ball is in fact able to live, and does get another special defense drop. But Lunar Dance comes out, allowing Primarina to go back up to full health, goes for an Ice Beam, predicting a switch. Well, actually, it doesn't really matter, because it was super effective nonetheless. Kyurem comes back out so he can switch out into Fusion Bolt and able to take out the Pre-Marina, allowing Kid Icarus winning 1-0. As we'll go to the league leaders this time, we'll go down to the kill-death ratio, where you have Kyurem Black bottoming out the top 10 at 10-3 and 3.3333333333333333. You get the point. We have both Scolipede and Sneasel 7 and 2. We also have Gardevoir and Excelgor at 4 and 1. Neolego is at 8 and 2. Volcarona at 12 and 3, and we have Azumarill at 14 and 3 as well. Dragonite is at 20 and 4, and Raichu is sitting up at top 6 and 1. We'll go to the defensive league leaders this time, as we have Avalugg and Alomomola sitting at the bottom part of the top 10. Porygon and Umbreon both at 27. Type Null is one behind his teammate Blissey at 30 and 31 apiece. Pyukumuku is sitting at 35 and Cresselia 39. And we have Zapdos and Sylveon. I was going to say way above everyone else, but Zapdos only has a 5-hit lead over Cresselia. But Sylveon has an 8-point lead over Zapdos, which is, in my opinion, a pretty comfortable lead, especially with that Sylveon, which takes at least 5 hits a game. But next up, we have the offensive league leaders, where we have Superior Gardevoir and Kyurem Black each have 10 kills apiece, separated by only deaths. Lucario, Hitmonlee, and Hawlucha each have 11 kills, but one of them has one more death, and the other two are just separated by alphabetically. We have Volcarona sitting at 12 kills and 3 deaths, Celesteela at 13 kills and 4 deaths. Azumarill now goes up to second place, with 14 kills and 3 deaths. But that allows Dragonite to stay up on top, 20 kills, 4 deaths for the Dragonite. We're going to go to the standings now. There we go, as we have movement both in the top 2 in both conferences. As actually I'll start this one because I feel like I started with the moon the last couple times, as unfortunately your Buffalo Bouffalons are in last place. I'm basically giving up for the rest of the season. I'm not giving up, I'm still gonna try, I'm gonna try new things and see how well that goes. As we have the Miami Magikarps also at 2 and 6 separated by differential. Kansas City Kartanas and the Illinois Illusions, both of them doing very good early season, now in 8th and 9th place, as we have the Twente Tentacles, who have been in the bottom of the league the past 2 seasons, knocking on the playoffs door. 4 and 4 and -6. The New York Metagross, out of the playoff spot last week, is in this week with a differential of 4, 4, and 8. All of his wins have been very high, and majority of his losses have been very low. 3 teams at 5 and 3, separated by only differential, as we have the Ninetales losing to the Metagross by 5, allowing the Goodras to take over first place of the conference. But anyway, on the other side, we have 3 teams at 2 and 6, separated by only differential. The Spindas, the Infernapes, and the Lycanrocs, separated by differentials again. Only the Lycanrocs at 3 and 5 are in the playoff spot as well. Beedrills are the only 4 and 4 team in the conference, sitting at 4 and 4 and -6. Did get 6-0'd twice, which is very unfortunate. Heracross sitting in 4th spot very comfortably, even knocking on 3rd place's door, trying to get 2nd place, or is it 2nd place? Yes, the third seed, which is right now held by the Arcanines. A win against the Arcanines? Actually, no, not even a win. Wow. Not even a win would give him in his 3rd seed, actually. It's a huge differential. We have the Dallas Dragons moving down to 3rd after the loss against the Arcanines, which the Arcanines move up to 2nd, knocking on the Flygon's door, separated by only 1 win and 1 differential. 1 mess up by the Flygons will mean the Arcanines will take over 1st place in the conference. we are going to go to the schedule, and please bear with me on this one. And ignore that. As a matter of fact, I am going to change that right now. Do that. And there we are. Please bear with me. I'm going to try my best to do this. We're going to have the Kartanas versus the Tentacles. I'm going to guess the Kartanas are going to be able to win that one. I just think that Hyper Offense versus the Tentacles team, the Tentacles can't do any comfy tricks because of that Kartana. Ninetales versus the Coilers, and I think that Ninetales is going to go back to his winning ways, even though the Coilers do have the, gosh, what is it? What am I trying to say? The advantage, I don't, what kind of sort of advantage? I'm having a huge brain fart right now. They won last week, so I think that, and the Ninetales lost last week, so I think that gives them the advantage. Third momentum advantage? I don't know. Probably, that's what I was trying to say. But anyway, moving on from my English fuck up, we have the Magikarps versus the Infernapes. Very, very weird matchup in my opinion. I do believe that the Infernapes are going to win. They need to win if they have any hope of making playoffs. Same with the Magikarps, but I do believe that the Infernapes are going to be able to pull a win. Registealers versus the Illusions. That's going to be a very interesting matchup, as Bulk faces against, in my opinion, still one of the top in the league, the Registealers. I'm going to go with the Registealers in this one. Next up, we have the Coilers and the Gliscors. Yep, the Coilers and the Gliscors. And I'm going to think that Gudras are going to stay top in the conference. I think that they're going to be able to pull off the win against the Gliscors. Next up, we have Metagross versus the Bouffalants. And this time I'm actually going to go with the Metagross, and here's why. I am trying a style I usually don't use, and I'm not very confident in it. Again, I want to try something different in order to be better next season. But I do believe that Mike is going to pull out the win. But anyway, we'll go down to the Moon Conference, as we have the Royals versus the Rapidash. That one's going to be very interesting. The winner will go up to 3-5. It's still in playoff contention with only 4 weeks remaining. I am going to say that the Royals are going to pull out the win on this one, beating his buddy Lycanroc. I do think the Royals are going to be able to pull out the win. Speaking of the Lycanroc, two friends, the Rocky and GV Center. Lycanroc versus the Dragons. I do believe that the Dragons are going to pull out the win. The damn Pyukumuku and Zapdos combo. Infernapes and Magikarps, I already did. Starmies and the Spindas, again, the bottom of the leagues. But I do believe that the Starmies are going to be able to pull out the win. I do have faith in Chris to pull out the victory. Rapidashes versus the Royals. I already did that one, excuse me. Beedrills and Flygons. That one's going to be a very good matchup, as we see two very good coaches battle it out. I do believe that the Flygons are going to be able to pull out the win. I just think that the offensive threat is too much for that defensive core. Anyway, we do have the Heracross versus the Arcanites, a very good matchup. Two of the hottest teams right now going at it. Arcanites have won, I think, 5 straight, maybe. Did they beat the Beedrills? I don't remember. But Metagross, Rapidash, Starmies, Infernapes, and the Dragons, 5 straight, going up to 2nd place in the conference after starting 1-2. I know he started 1-2. But the Heracross have also been on fire, beating the I do believe the Infernapes, starting off 0-2, beating the Spindas, the Infernapes, the Royals, just barely losing against the Dragons. Does get the forfeit win over the Lycanroc, but he even did another mock battle against Rockhands and the Lycanroc, and he was able to win that and beating the Rapidashes 6-0. These are two very hot teams, and I'm really looking forward to watching this battle. But anyway, I do believe that the Arcanites are going to be able to pull out the win. Cody, I do believe in you. I do believe that you can do it, but I do think that the Arcanites are going to pull out the win. I just think that they are the hotter team at the moment. But anyway, that is my matchup. That is my prediction. Good luck for everyone in Week 9, and I'll talk to you guys next week.